Welcome to The Interview, the TV talk show that showcases fascinating people on location. I'm Susan Lee MacDonald. They say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but is it really? What do you consider beautiful? An oval face, an hourglass figure, big eyes, or something else? Today's guest is an award-winning visual artist who explores the changing paradigms of conventional beauty. She's an amazing woman, an internationally renowned contemporary artist. Let's go meet Debbie Han. This parody on the traditional image of Venus asks us to rethink the conventions of modern beauty. This piece, made entirely from eraser residue, is Debbie Han's critique of the Korean art educational system where individual creativity is lacking. The artist Debbie Han in action, busy creating dialogue-inducing art. Debbie Han immigrated to the United States at a young age and studied art all her life. And in 2003, she returned to Korea to participate in an artistic residency program where she began her passionate journey in creation. She has once again presented us with a question: contemporary artist Debbie Han. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Susan.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting us here. I've heard so much about your exhibition. Thank you for letting us come and film you and interview you today.
It will be my pleasure to share with you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd love to go up and take a look.
Let's go.
Great. So Debbie, I'd love to learn about your exhibition. Could you explain it to me a little bit?
Sure. This exhibition is titled Being.
Being?
Yes,
Okay.
it basically presents my works from the last 26 years, since 1985 through the present.
Oh, wonderful.
There are 3 rooms in the exhibition hall, and each room presents different periods.
So Debbie, this room is amazing. It's very kind of dark feeling.
The works you're seeing in this room are titled the Despair series.
Despair.
Yes.
I feel it.
I was going through a quite difficult period during that time, and I pretty much spilled over my emotions onto the paper with the medium.
Well, I can see certainly with each of these artworks, especially this piece right here, there's just a lot of very strong strokes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
This was actually made in 1990. I was in my early 20s and going through a lot of sort of difficult events in my life.
Oh, I see.
And one incident was a sudden death of my father.
Oh my goodness.
Who died of heart attack, and this work is actually titled Heart Attack.
Oh, wow.
So, after I lost him like that, I sort of fell into a great depression, going through all the dark emotions that it was.
It's only natural.
Yeah. So it's just straightforward, sheer emotions that I was trying to bring out onto my work.
Wow.
Here are Debbie's works from Los Angeles, where she was staying true only to her intense inner journey. Hardships as an immigrant child, confusions about identity in her adolescence, and the sudden despair she felt at the loss of her father in college. The series of artwork here represents the remarkable breakthrough in her inner journey and in her ability to communicate it with the world.
So Debbie, here we are on the 3rd floor of your exhibition where it's displaying your earliest works. Like, how did you become an artist? Like, what prompted you to pick up a pen or a paper and start to draw?
My family immigrated to Los Angeles at the end of the 70s, so I was still in grade school. So all throughout my secondary school years, junior high school, I was quite immersed in painting. And as you know, in the States, music and art are electives at that level.
Yes.
So unless you want to learn those classes, it's not mandatory. But for me, the art training I was getting at school was not enough, because I was really hungry for more, experiences of painting. So I would sought out these workshops, run by the city or the state-sponsored summer schools for the, gifted art students, etc. So I really went out of my way to delve into just painting, and because of that, I pretty much acquired the basic trainings, learning how to draw and paint at very early age. So around the age of 16, I started to express myself, through painting, as you can see in some of these, other paintings on this floor.
Definitely. Some of your earliest artworks are very, very different, even on this floor. So tell us about how your first artworks changed in progression.
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, from the age of 16 up until the time I entered UCLA, I pretty much just absorbed the natural surroundings. But when I was painting these, different things, I wasn't necessarily trying to capture the images, as they are. Rather, I try to express my internal sort of states, my emotions. And then once I entered UCLA, I was kind of facing the world for real for the first time as an adult.
Yes.
And believe it or not, that was the first time that I actually wanted to communicate with people verbally. So before then, I was quite happy just painting, painting out my experiences. But
so would you have been considered kind of a loner in the past?
I absolutely.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So not a whole lot of social interaction. Like you weren't really interested in social interaction.
Not quite. I didn't relate to people that much. Yet I was very philosophical in my orientation. So I would contemplate over, different things, nature. So I had this intensely kind of introspective, inclinations. And I broke out of it as I went to college. And looking around the world, for the first time, I desired to communicate with people, verbally, other than through my art.
Wow.
And then also that, with the understanding of the world and other people, came the personal crisis.
Well, and that was the personal crisis of your father passing, is that right?
I was already, after the first year at UCLA, I was going through this intense depression, being disenchanted by the material reality, of my life in Los Angeles. Basically observing the world around, I was thinking, is this all to life? And then coinciding that time, my father suddenly passed away by a heart attack, which was 1990.
That must have been a real shock to you. Were you very close to your father?
Not very. And because of that, there was a greater sense of loss. I will never have any chance ever in my life to make up, having been a rebellious daughter before that time. So it was the sense of loss and guilt, because I think when I was a teenager, I always made my own decisions about my life. And my parents kind of let me be, but I was still rebellious and going through my sort of crisis. So he passed away at the worst time for me, So knowing that I suffer from this intense guilt, grief, and loss, and that whole event plunged me into this deeper depression. I had no hope, and I just couldn't make sense out of anything anymore.
So when you were feeling this intense depression and guilt and maybe feelings of regret because you weren't able to have conversations with your father again about any number of things, I think that's certainly a very low point for anyone. And you expressed that through your artwork, yes?
Yes. The personal loss piled up with my sort of metaphysical quest. It plunged me into a complete despair. So I was kind of paralyzed, but I was still painting,
Wow. And then what helped you to get through that time? Was it the actual artwork? Because we see here in this room the Into the Unknown series, which is so different from your Despair series. So what brought you here?
I met Buddhism and the Eastern spiritual philosophies during that time.
Had you previously been of a different religious background or belief?
Oh, I was never religious, but of course, you know, I had gone to like a Christian, you know, church with friends, and I was exposed to Christianity, but I couldn't quite like embrace it, you know, entirely. But when I got to know the Eastern spiritual, you know, cultures, namely Buddhism, it made so much more sense to me, and specifically Zen meditation appealed to me most of all. So I started to practice, you know, Zen meditation, and to me, Zen meditation is not even a religion. It's almost like a way to find your inner self. So I found the light in me because I realized. You know, the seeming world around you is basically a manifestation of the essence within us, and that essence within each human being cannot change. So meaning that we are already born with this beauty and this light inside of us, and never to question that or doubt that. You know?
So as an artist, it seems like every artist, whether they're a musician or a visual artist, they seem to have some type of philosophy behind what they do and why they do what they do. And for you, it seems like your quest, your spiritual quest to know who you are has been the core of how you express your artwork.
Yes,
Wow.
it's very true. That has been the fundamental, the bedrock that's been sustaining my life and art. So it is hard to talk about my art without talking about my life and then what I went through, you know, internally, because it's all connected. So the first is the awareness. You know, what kind of changes I go through internally would shape my world, and therefore, you know, the certain artwork comes out of that. So every time there's a change in my awareness, my life will change, and then it'll be reflected in my art accordingly.
Well, I can definitely tell that having gone through the first, second, and third floors of the museum today, we've been able to see very different sides of you.
Yes.
So since we've been here in your earliest exhibition works, I'd love to see that the next phase of the changes that you went through. So
Sure.
shall we go and take a look? Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, great. Debbie, what's the concept of this room here?
This room is presenting mostly sculptural installations and photography. One is titled the Condom Series.
Oh, what are these?
The Condom Series.
The condom series?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So they're actual condoms, or is this
Actually,
some other
no.
material?
The form actually depicts the soiled condoms,
Okay.
but the material is actually resin.
Wow.
So it's a type of plastic, pigmented to get these bright colors.
I mean, they look so, they look like candy almost.
Yes.
But it does kind of a mind then, because you don't normally associate condoms with something that's pretty or
yes,
nice.
that was precisely the point. Bringing together your sort of natural response to these things, and sort of contrasting that with your mental conception of it, the
Yes.
social sort of, you know, associations.
Starting graduate school in New York after leaving LA, her artwork changed along with her surroundings. Once in tune only with her inner journey, she now began to embrace the world around her, finally emerging from her inner world. It was then that her artwork took on communicating her inner journey to the external world, incorporating more physical and tangible pieces.
So Debbie, here we are on the second floor, and I'd like for you to give us a little intro as to the differences between what we just saw and what we're seeing here.
Yes, so as we talked about during the early 90s, from 92 through 97, I pretty much delved into that highly introspective life where I was meditating daily, and I was also a vegetarian, and you know, I was very focused on sort of coming to terms with my inner self, walking on that inner path. However, after 6 years of that kind of spiritual training, I came to another understanding.
Which was what?
Which was that no matter how good or pure that whole ideology may be, it could also become a restriction. You know.
Okay.
So I felt the need to come out of that once again. The first series I did with that mentality was the Sweet World series. And the vow I took during the first semester at grad school, okay, instead of quitting my grad school and waitressing in New York to come to terms with the physical world, I decided, okay, I'm gonna keep all my responsibilities here, which was to complete my education, but I'm gonna let go of everything that I've accumulated from the past.
So what were some examples of things that you let go? I know you said you were vegetarian prior to that.
Yeah,
did you stay?
I stopped being a vegetarian because I did not want those labels anymore. I stopped meditating, and in my art, most of all, I shifted from painting to making sculptures. But at that time, I did not want to do sculpture from learning how to make it all over again. That I think the important thought I had that dictated me at the time was the meaning of art is to create. The essence of art is its creativity. And where does that come from? It should come from just the midst of your life, not from some academic learning or the people from the past to pass down. So I wanted to explore my very own life here and now to derive my message and also form my own unique visual language. So I did not want to learn how to make art anymore, but I wanted to learn how to express myself in a new way that I had never done before.
Wow. So you weren't really focused on a commercial aspect of your art. Like a lot of people, they do have to make a living, and some people do have to waitress and do many odd jobs to support themselves. But it sounds like you weren't necessarily just thinking of like selling your artwork to people in New York, where it's the mecca.
No, not at all.
Art.
Not at all. I very much wanted to continue on my creative path, but I wasn't necessarily thinking of selling my work as quickly as possible. I wanted to continue to grow, and I did have to support myself as an artist. So I decided to take up the job offer in LA and move out of New York. But although I really appreciated what New York could offer me, I did not have any illusion about it. Many young artists feel that have to go to New York to become successful. I didn't think like that. I was after life experiences.
And is this the impasse that helped you to decide to go to Korea?
Oh, very much. Looking back, very much so. It was almost like an what do you call it, epiphany, that hit me. And initially, I could not understand that. Wait a minute, everything's going right. I'm doing well as an artist, but why am I not feeling fulfilled inside? What's wrong with me?
And then to just decide to leave and go to Korea, it might have seemed reckless to some people.
Yeah, there was actually an instant that helped me to make that decision. So with the growing kind of dissatisfaction internally, that my mind could not understand why, what is wrong with me, I actually took off to Canada to spend some time just alone, away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, just to hear myself out. And there, so it was almost like a retreat, right? And I was able to sort of gain a bigger perspective, to see myself exactly where I was, and I was not happy with that, which was basically that should I be making art to become successful? Or, once again, what is the meaning of art? And I realized that I wanted to open up my heart to make art that could offer some sort of meaning or significance to others, that I did not want my art making to be servicing my own ego or narcissism. And without knowing, I sort of was walking on that path, I felt. So my spiritual self felt deprived of the sharing and this kind of being one with the world. So I came back to LA with that new sort of, realization. Okay, so how do I do that, How do I now let go of everything that I've established and going after this kind of, experience of sharing and giving? And then 6 months after that experience, I came to Korea.
So why Korea of all places? Is it because you were familiar with it as a child and you wanted to experience what it was like as an adult? Because there are so many places in the world that are famous for art.
Yeah. I think if I hadn't, if I hadn't experienced Zen meditation, I would have gone to Italy, I think.
Really?
My artistic home, but the whole experience of, meditation just brought too much transformations internally. And that's when I became interested in Asia.
I see.
As opposed to like Europe, the spiritual culture of Asia does offer a very different perspective, in viewing our existence, and I was kind of drawn to that. And perhaps, I think not just because Korea is my motherland, but philosophically, I wanted to tap into it, to
you felt a resonance. You felt a
pull,
resonance.
a certain pull. But of course, all these were kind of internal and intuitive, so I wasn't aware of that when I came to Korea. I thought it would be a 3-month stay.
And that's turned into
an 8-year-long journey.
Wow. Debbie, tell me about this exhibition right here.
Yes, here you're seeing the latest body of work.
Okay.
Executed in Korea during the last 7 years.
Oh, all made in Korea?
Yes.
Okay.
These bronze sculptures are actually the last of its series, which is titled Terms of Beauty. Started back in 2004, and I finished off the series with this body of sculptures. Okay. And here, the form once again depicts all different variations of facial features, representing stereotypically different races and ethnic characteristics.
Okay. I'd love to see these other ones too.
Yes. Yes, the variation continues on. Here, the nose is very prominent, almost like masculine looking, yet the eyes are quite slanted. So once again, evoking several different, racial or ethnic characteristics.
So not the typical Venus that we think of when we think of old Greek Venus artwork, but very different conceptually, yes?
Quite so. Moving away from the typical, classical Western Venus, I try to create different faces to sort of throw questions about the ways in which our conception is formed. And
I'm curious what this is. Is this bronze and corroded with some chemicals?
Yes, exactly. The material is bronze. It's cast bronze, but I wanted to create this really aged and old look, as if they've been around, on the surface of the world for like 1,000 years. So I did the chemical corrosion to speed up the corrosion process.
Wow. Well, it definitely looks like it's been around a very long time outside, underwater, and everywhere.
Exactly.
Wow.
In the artwork that she has created in Korea over the last 7 years, you can observe yet another stage in her artistic mastery. Debbie Han questions what is the true essence of beauty with this exhibit, infusing Korean traditional artistic technique with a challenge to the conventions of Western beauty.
Wow, you've got such a diverse grouping of materials that you've worked with, and different types of what Koreans call as the Venus series.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, what do you think about being titled the Venus artist?
I certainly hope that people could go beyond the form, the incorporation of the form of Venus into my work, and to be able to see the meaning within that. I'd like people to be able to ask why has this artist used this form, the variations of it so often in these works.
So let me ask you, why have you, Debbie, used Venus, which is known as the epitome of beauty, especially in Greco-Roman times. And why are you using variations of the Venus form, and what's the story behind that?
Yes. When I first came to Korea, I very much wanted to communicate through my works what is happening in this part of the world. as well as carrying on the philosophical discourses that I've had before, right? So to me, Venus became almost like a metaphoric image that I could incorporate into my work to communicate with the viewer, almost like laying down a bridge for people to come and meet me. So Venus, as you know, is very much a well-known Western art historical image.
Yes.
But beyond that, I think that Venus is very much a living, breathing, contemporary icon. As you know, wherever you go, in Korea as well, people will just automatically, oh yeah, that is the icon of beauty. So it's almost like a learned response, a memorized, sort of just given, thrown at us.
And that's unusual because Koreans do not look anything like the Venus figure. It's a very Caucasian European face, and so to have Asians look at the Venus figure as the epitome of beauty, that gives me kind of a big question mark. Is that what you were also kind of aiming for too?
Not just not just theoretically, but observing what is happening, what is taking place, in this part of the world here and now. I was taken by the whole, obsession with the plastic surgery, and the standard of beauty in Asia also seemed to be very, very westernized.
In recent times.
In the recent times, and that also, helped me to realize the time in which we are living, contemporary era, is all about things things merging together, different, elements being hybridized, and you'd find that in the States too. America seems to be embracing more and more of the spiritual culture of Asia, so, the concept of well-being or the practice of yoga, meditation are all about that. The same way, I think that Asia is also sort of embracing the Western culture, but at the same time, it is clashing with tradition.
Yes.
So therefore, a whole new culture is being created at the moment. And when I saw that, it was very dynamic for me. And of course full of problems and dilemma and whatnot, but I wanted to actually talk about that in my work.
We can definitely see that with a lot of your art here, and specifically with your new art. I'd love for you to comment on some of your new art.
Sure. I think my methodology has been pretty much postmodern, where you deconstruct all the different layers surrounding the illusion of your reality. So how do you do that? By taking our stereotypical or typical notion. To me, this was the myth of beauty, but it wasn't just a myth. To me, it was very much just our seeming reality. We live in a consumer society and being constantly bombarded by all this mass media. So it is so easy to kind of lose the sight of your sense of self. Being bought into the propagandistic, the purpose of these, companies. So, in a way, I'm going to be able to help people to be free from these illusions of our consumer society, and at the same time, inquire into the meaning of existence. Together. So I don't really try to offer my own answer, if there is any. But it's kind of like creating a dialogue with the viewer and sharing those interests together. So for instance, when I created the celadon, the ancient Korean ceramic type, depicting tiny heads of Venuses, but with reconstructed facial features to depict all different mixes of ethnic characteristics. They're highly conceptual. There's no one who actually looks like that, but they are created to challenge the viewer to question their familiar notion of beauty, or seen through the icon of Venus.
Yes.
But then at the same time, although I have deconstructed the Eurocentric view through these diverse depictions, I'm not offering any other kind of answer or standard, because that is for the viewer to find it on their own.
And behind us here, we see fragments of the white porcelain work that you've done. Tell us a little bit about that, because that in itself is a piece of art too.
Yes, yes. It's an installation piece made out of white porcelain shards. After working with ceramic, the celadon material, I've moved on to working with the white porcelain, which is another representative ancient ceramic type of Korea.
Well, celadon and white ceramic is very classically Asian.
Very.
And you chose classically Korean and Asian media to do your art.
Yes, it was very important for me because coming out to Korea the way I did was, I wasn't just interested in looking at it as an outsider, but I really want to understand the spirit of Korea, or what makes this country and this part of the world any different from the West. So it was important for me to seek out the materials with which I can experience the aesthetics and traditions of Korea. Wow. And to me, that was ceramics, the porcelain. So after I had my share of the celadon experiences, I moved on to do working with white porcelain. But my attempt to create 10 heads took 3 years.
3 years.
And I basically had to make 130 busts in order to successfully fire 10 heads.
Wow.
So,
but you did come out with some successful...
Yes, by 2010, I finally succeeded in gathering 10 groups. So during the process...
And these are the shards from...
Yes, from the process.
The ones that didn't make it
exactly.
to the 10. Wow.
So in this show, instead of displaying the perfectly fired the heads, I decided to share the very process I went through to get that. Because once again, the meaning of art is the significance it has, the ability to communicate, and to me, the process. It's not just the finished product that matters, but the meaning it holds.
Yes.
So how can I share that? And I purposely created, an installation out of those broken shards.
A day meant especially for the artist herself. Debbie here holds a seminar with her fans at the Sunggok Art Gallery. A natural teacher, she speaks passionately and articulately to her audience. Debbie explains her dedication to truth and the trials she endured to create her art. To her fans that came to see her exhibition, this is a gift that will not soon be forgotten.
저는 개인적으로 이제까지 세미나 들은 것 중에서 가장 공감을 많이 했던 것 같고요.
오늘 아주 행운이었어요. 이렇게 만나서 얘기 듣고 하니까 훨씬 더 감상이 더 잘 돼요.
I think looking back, it was the total process that gave me so much, There were so many times even my mind could not make sense out of this long journey. Why am I still doing it after, failing for 10 times, But then there was something within me, beyond my intellect that just held on to it. I think it was almost like a faith in this vision that came to me that I was to, actualize it and bring it out to this world. And that was like a mission, and I couldn't stop.
So Debbie, you've brought me to your neighborhood,
yes? I've been living here for about 2.5 years. It's a very quiet neighborhood.
It doesn't feel like Seoul at all. The air quality is amazing.
Yeah. And I like the fact that, here time almost feels like it has stopped here. So I can just focus on my work.
This is your home?
Yes, please come in.
Okay. Wow, you have a yard in Seoul. This is so rare.
Yes, and the grass turns all green during the springtime.
And I see that you've got trees and bushes all around.
All the flowers, bloom during the springtime. We have a persimmon tree, as well as the Korean dates tree.
Oh, two of my favorite kinds of things to eat. I have to come back and visit in the spring.
And that's my studio.
Oh, I'd love to go take a look. Wow. So this is where the magic happens and the creative juices flow, yes?
Yes.
Great. Oh, thank you for inviting me in. Wow. So it's actually quite clean. I guess you've cleaned up for us.
The ceramic work's done.
I see.
Yeah.
I imagine that's a really messy process.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It gets quite messy.
Wow.
Everywhere.
So what is this? Is this a form?
This is a mold that I used to create the celadon pieces.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically the plaster pieces that come together to create the negative form, which is going to be the positive shape of the sculpture.
I see. And so then, do you pour the what do you call
Slip,
the slip,
which is the
inside
watered
here?
down clay. Yes, I pour it into this opening, and after a certain time, the plaster soaks up the water from the clay. So after I get the desirable thickness, I pour out the excess.
Okay.
So you want the inside to be hollow.
Okay. Well, I see over here we've got some of the white porcelain.
Yes, these are baekja, the traditional Korean white porcelain. And you also notice the head droops down like in different ways, right?
Yes.
So these were the most successful group out of the 130 pieces I attempted to make.
I see. Wow. And you've got 10 amazing pieces. Wow. Debbie, thank you so much for inviting me into your home. It's such an honor to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Wow, and this is where all the creativity happens, I imagine. You know?
You can say that.
Yeah, wow. Well, so you are a painter, you're a sculptor, you use various media for different kinds of artworks, and you describe yourself as a visual artist or a contemporary artist, yes?
Yeah, I think that kind of broader term it's better because I can't see myself only working in one specific material, and I think the essence of art is to create. So if you're focusing on creating, you naturally want to try and experiment with different things all the time. So that's why I sort of moved on from one material to another, one genre to another, to see what is possible.
You won a lot of amazing awards. You won a grant from the Pollock-Krasner Foundation, is that correct?
Yes, in 2007, I wanted to move on to trying out the larger size bust, the actual size, after succeeding the smaller celadon, but I needed the money to pursue that. So I applied to a Pollock-Krasner Foundation in New York with the celadon images, and they took about 8 months, examining every applicant, and then they actually awarded me with double the fund.
Double the fund?
Yeah.
Don't they normally kind of either give you the fund that you request or a little bit less?
Yeah,
so you got double.
Yeah.
That's
because this foundation actually not only reviews for the quality of your work and your project proposals, but also your financial situation. So I guess they figured that I need that much money. So I was very grateful. And it's one of the most respected art foundations, internationally. So it was a great encouragement.
I've heard about this European travel sketchbook during one of your travels earlier on in life.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to see what that's all about.
It's a bit embarrassing, but okay. I used to keep travel sketchbooks whenever I'd go to these new places. And this one is a sketchbook from my very first trip to Europe back in '91.
And where did you travel to when you went to Europe?
Oh, all the major Western European countries, to England, France, Italy, Amsterdam, Switzerland, like that.
Was it a backpacking journey?
I spent about 2 months, so I was able to spend a good deal of time in each country, exploring the arts and culture.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to take a look and see what you have.
My favorite country was Italy, actually. And I went off to Italy after taking a Renaissance art history, and I fell in love with Florence.
Oh, or Firenze.
Yeah, Firenze. And this is Ponte Vecchio. And here's the Duomo.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a pen sketch.
Wow. pen sketch. Wow. I can barely draw a stick figure, and you're drawing the domo.
And then, just kind of...
and I see that you've kept somewhat of a diary here on a very large piece of paper.
And this is
everything is large scale with you. This is great.
A pencil sketch of the Roman Forum. So I think the Forum was in Rome. So for 3 days, I took a train from Florence to Rome in order to sketch out sufficiently the view from the Forum. So it kind of continues on.
Wow. On and on with some amazing pieces of art. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I think that traveling the world probably has given so many different artists around the world a much bigger vision of where their art can reach, and they learn so much from each of the cultures. What do you feel like you've learned from your travels that have helped you to put that back into your art? Yeah,
for me, I love that the state of mind, when I'm traveling. It's letting go of your familiar world, and you're ready to take in the new experience. And I actually wonder if there's such thing as a new thing, because whenever you come across a new thing, after a while, it becomes familiar. It's not new anymore. But I think it's the very perspective you discover, through which you find the newness in your own environment. So somehow it's like you go away from your familiar environment and you come back with a fresher perspective. Then you can see things in a new light, and that's the newness of it.
Wow. And you've also, in 2009, you won the Sovereign Asia Art Award. Tell us about that award.
Yes, the Sovereign Art Foundation is based in Hong Kong and London. So every year they get nominations by different nominators in 2 different continents. One is for the Asian Art Award, given to a selected artist who's based in Asia, and then there's also the European award, representing the European continent. So in 2009, I got nominated and got selected as the winner of the Sovereign Asian Art Prize.
I mean, how do you feel knowing that that you're not only doing art that you love to do and that you've spent your whole life really pursuing, but to win an award, to be judged by others, and then to be deemed #1?
Well, that award was like an oasis to me.
An oasis?
Yeah, because back then I kept failing, in my sculpture, with the sculpture project, the white porcelain, and it felt endless. And, I was running out of money.
So you're like thirsty and just wanting some kind of water to kind of quench your thirst.
Financially and socially, my husband and I just moved into this house, but we had no studio back then, so I was still commuting to these ceramic studios to get my day's work done. And with the money, I was able to, build a studio that you just visited.
Wow.
And also that support was just amazing.
Wow.
And the work, the winning piece, which is titled "The Seated Three Graces."
Well, when I first saw your photograph series, I was asking myself, where are these statues? Are they somewhere else? And she's just taken photos of them, but they're not statues elsewhere. They're just complete digital.
Yeah, digitally rendered human bodies with the combined heads, which are the sculpture heads. So it's not the fancy program that I used to create that effect, but it's the way, that I push the digital rendering to its full maximum sort of new limits.
Wow.
That I was able to get that kind of effect. So even till today, the most common question I get on that series is, what did you use to make these sculptures? Then I'm very happy because I've succeeded, because the whole point of doing that project was to create the illusion of sculpture out of human body, kind of sculpturizing ordinary female, Asian female bodies.
So Debbie, going forward, what can we expect from you as an artist?
Anything and everything.
Anything and everything?
Yes.
Oh wow, like what?
Because I'm about to start new projects this year, and I have no idea as to what that's going to be, what form it will take, what genre I'm going to be working in. So it's all open, and that's the way I've always worked.
Wow. So are you going through another transformation or internal turn, if you will?
Yeah. I think it does feel like I'm starting a new chapter. You know, like one chapter which has been the 8-year journey in Korea has been resolved, and now I'm sort of venturing out with a new perspective on life.
Wow. Well, I'm so looking forward to seeing what we're going to see from you in the near future. And let me ask you this last question. If you could choose what people think of you as an artist and your work for generations to come, what would you want for people to remember you by?
I think, I know it sounds kind of corny, but a truth seeker. I think essentially that's what an artist is.
A truth seeker.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know that your essence of seeking the truth and really being in touch with who you are and trying to communicate that to the world has definitely resulted in some really amazing artwork that I know has been getting some great reviews.
Oh,
so thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and with the audience here.
Oh, it's been very fun. Thank you, Susan.
You're very welcome. Award-winning visual artist Debbie Han, artistically always on the move and philosophically in search of the truth. Debbie Han is unafraid of failure and invites people into the world of self-discovery. Debbie Han, an internationally renowned artist. The interview will be keeping up with what's going on in her life, and we are excited to see what the future holds for her. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.